Welcome back. That last reading that I had posted, that was definitely like a twin flame reading. At the end of it, there's the two paths. It's basically either go, the feminine goes into a state of surrender, and they stop repeating the cycles, or the feminine doesn't process through that, that pain, or doesn't really surrender, instead just pushes away. If that happens, then there's another runner chaser cycle. So I thought, especially since I just got this new deck in, that I wanted to show you guys. Let me show it to you really quick. I got really excited about it. I got it on Etsy. It's Hannah Willow. Hopefully you guys can see that pretty well. But it's just an absolutely beautiful deck. She's an artist. I'll put the link in the description box for her Etsy page. But I'm just really excited to use these. I mean, it's all animals, but obviously I love animals. So anyway, my thought was that we can kind of look into, again, for the feminine and the masculine. And I want to keep this a relatively short reading, but I wanted to go in there a little bit more and see if there's any way that we could find some practical advice of what issues, generally speaking, need to be addressed, for them to go into surrender, and basically both individuals are working on themselves, which I think is going to drive towards union. And y'all, when I talk about like union is coming, I just wanted to clarify too, because I am one of the worst people, and it's really tripped me up a lot on my spiritual journey, time. And especially if you do get into tarot or tarot readings, which all of you watching this probably are, right? A lot of times, you'll hear a reading or do a reading and you're like, oh, like you see kind of what's coming. What I've learned is that it's, the time is never what we think it's going to be. Soon, I don't think is like this weekend, right? But anyway, so don't get tripped up on the time too much. But I thought, yeah, let's go in. And I want to pull some cards for the Divine Feminine with the Magical Nordic Tarot deck. I've recently gotten into several new decks, so a lot of them are still slippy. Okay, for the Divine Feminine, what sort of issues or work needs to be done to transform into surrender? Four of Swords, healing. Well, yes. Hermit. Eight of Swords, restriction. I apologize. Six of Swords. Okay. For the masculine, I'm gonna use this deck, Tarot Wonderland. Nine of Cups. King of Swords. The High Priestess. Six of Cups. Okay. For me, I'm seeing pretty clear messages here. For the Divine Feminine, Four of Swords, healing, the Hermit, Eight of Swords, restriction, Six of Swords, boundaries. So I think the guidance here for the Divine Feminine is to make sure that they are still actively doing their healing work. The Divine Feminine in the last reading is a pretty evolved Divine Feminine. They've done a lot of healing work, and so it's basically to say, and like we said when we started this, if the Divine Feminine blocks and basically tries to cut this off with just that Queen of Swords energy of just pushing away, cutting it off, and staying kind of in that anger or detachment phase of walking away from the relationship. I don't care about this. Doesn't mean anything to me. I can find better. Like that kind of like, slightly bitter, but it's because a lot of times it's easier and more comfortable to feel anger in situations when you've been hurt than sadness, right? It's easier to be angry than it is to be sad. And so the guidance here for the Divine Feminine is to ensure, let yourself be sad. Let yourself grieve that loss. Even if someone is not the right person for you, it doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt to let them go. Embrace that hurt and understand that even though you're letting it go for now, you don't know what's up ahead, but you know that you are walking in your path. As long as you are walking in your faith and you are actively remembering to do that work, to be authentic with yourself, that is what's going to help drive you forward here in terms of getting to that surrender, that acceptance. And the Hermit is guiding that you still, because in the last reading, the Divine Feminine ends up in the Queen of Pentacles energy. So she's working really hard on some 3D aspects of her life as well, right? Taking care of her home, taking care of her job, her responsibilities, her kids, whatever it may be. It's asking you to ensure that you see here in this card that there's a guy sitting there in sort of a yoga position, meditating. There's a bunny, there's a deer in the background. But make sure that you are taking care of yourself, that you are centering yourself, and that you are giving yourself the time, space, energy, and relaxation to process and transmute this loss. Because it does hurt, right? Walking away hurts, even if it's your choice, it hurts. So embrace that feeling and make sure that you're giving yourself the time and the structured time of allowing yourself to process that, right? Not just time in terms of sitting there and taking salt baths, which you should definitely do, but you know what I mean? Time doesn't heal all wounds. What time gives you the space to process through that emotional plane. Okay, the Eight of Swords. I think it's advice to go in this direction, and these are sort of cautions. So the Eight of Swords energy is about feeling trapped, right? And so the card mentions restriction. So, I think a piece of guidance here, or a caution for the Divine Feminine, is to it's about self-limiting beliefs. That's what I'm seeing here. It's about the self-limiting beliefs, and that's the next phase that the Divine Feminine needs to work on while they are in this healing and hermit energy, right? So when you are making those times for yourself to connect and do your healing, consider the ways in which you have limited yourself, in which you've told yourself that you're not worthy for a particular relationship, for a particular job, for a particular lifestyle. What ways have you not reached out to take something that you want because you believe that you're not good enough, or that can't happen for you? Because those thoughts, those self-limiting beliefs are completely in our mind, self-imposed from the matrix that we live in. And we learn them as well, right? We learn them from our parents. The Six of Swords comes up as boundaries. And I think that's something that we as divine feminines always have to work on. Or that something where we were poor at that in the beginning of our journey, and that's something that we've come to really value. But it's something that, especially if you've come from a learned place of very poor boundaries, any, sort of narcissistic, empathic dynamics, it takes a lot of work to actually dig into those components and aspects of those dynamics. They are hard to see. That's what I want to say, is they are hard to see, and it's because we've known them for so long. People pleasing, for example, because we believe that we need to be a nice person. And we want to be a nice person. We want to care for people, but it's the boundary aspect of that comes in that we didn't learn in that dynamic, maybe, narcissistic, empathic, or whatever. But what we didn't learn is we survived by placating and pleasing the other people because they had unpredictable behaviors for us, right? Or they were detached from us. And so in order to get that attention, that time, that connection, that love, we had to cater to aspects of their personality or to their interests, or even to their bad behaviors, right? We had to tolerate those things in order to still have a father, say, right? Or a mother. So those are the things that your guidance to still be actively working on. Make sure that you are still in that path of healing, that you're giving yourself the time and space to actually process and transmute the grief and loss of this connection, as well as that vision that you had for the future. A lot of times we grieve things that never even happened, right? And it was a vision that we had of what could be. And when that dies, sometimes that's even harder, having a vision or a fantasy die, than a reality, because we don't know what our vision of the future looks like then without that person. So allow yourself to feel that pain and respect the death of both that relationship as well as your fantasy of it. Again, look at your self-limiting beliefs and ensure that you are still identifying areas where you can grow healthy boundaries, as well as reevaluating where you need to pull back some boundaries. Is your boundary too hard, right? Okay, for the divine masculine, in terms of what he needs to work through, the first thing that comes up for me is Nine of Cups, that there could be some dependency issues, some coping mechanisms for this divine masculine that allowed him to escape his feelings of conflict, confusion, being overwhelmed. The escapism absolutely is going to stunt and block. You're not going to process or do any actual healing as long as you're sitting in avoidance of this. And you can see in this card, it's the caterpillar with the hookah, and in the background is where all the cups are. So he's focusing on smoking the hookah and looking off, but at his back is his wish fulfillment. it's that process of, drinking to excess or habitual, right? Like every single night. That's going to be something that is absolutely going to block you from your wish fulfillment. So that's a caution to the masculine, is evaluate that. And that's a very difficult path and journey. Especially if there's heavy alcohol or drug use. The King of Swords. I think with the masculine that we saw in the last reading, there, was an indication that he would have emotional outbursts. And I think, what it showed in the last reading is he was really disconnected from his heart space, from his emotions, and didn't know, he was so uncomfortable with his feelings that he didn't know how to process them at all. And so, what happens with this particular masculine is that he allows that all to just build up. And then when he feels overwhelmed and cornered, he just lashes out. But a big part of the reason that that's happening is because he is disconnected from his truth and his heart space. And I think that escapism is a big part of why, because you're not going to be able to listen to your heart and your intuition if you're constantly numbing it with alcohol or drugs to excess. He can't get to this King of Swords space and be able to process and communicate in a temperate way his emotions if he continues to block that. Another issue for this masculine is secrets. I'm looking at the card and it's Alice looking through what looks like a window at the Queen here, but it's actually looking at herself in the future. I think that's what it is. That's how I'm feeling. It's so what I'm saying here is that this masculine imposes secrets, or he keeps secrets, not out to be intentionally deceptive, but I think because he's hiding aspects of himself that he himself is uncomfortable with, and he just doesn't know how to explain the disconnects in certain aspects of his life. And so he hides them for that reason. Because again, he's not centered enough with his truth himself to fully understand why he may feel a certain way or do a certain thing. I think he desperately wants to see himself as being more mature, as I'm getting a strong energy and message here right now, but I think there's several things in here that I'm seeing. He looks at the divine feminine a lot, and the divine feminine is very different from him. Totally different than anyone he's dated, anyone he's even been interested in, right? And she doesn't make sense in his life. But he looks at her and he sees her as being someone who's beautiful and empathetic, kind, together, really as a star. And he sees her maturity and he sees her passion and drive, and he wants to mirror that. But then he's also looking in the mirror and seeing that he isn't that. And that's why he hides things. That's why he keeps secrets. Is because he feels like if this divine feminine really sees him, she will just see a child. And he cares too much to go through that, right? To see that in her eyes. And so he avoids it and hides things to prevent the ways in which he feels inadequate compared to her, and maybe in his life in general. He wants to keep that below. The Six of Cups. I think that this masculine has an issue with, and I'm hearing emotionally reciprocal, being emotionally reciprocal. I think this masculine is, again, from the last reading, focus very much on the physical. So reciprocity in an emotional nature is something that is very difficult for him. He wants to do it, but he doesn't know how to do it. Okay, so the advice for the Divine Masculine here is, I think in terms of the work that you need to do, regarding your secrets, you need to find a way to bring those to light for yourself. Start evaluating the secrets, right? Why are they secrets? Is it something actually bad that you did that you don't want someone else to know? And if so, why did you do that thing that you knew was bad, right? Ask what you were seeking from that. Were you seeking validation? Like what would make you do something to risk losing something that you care about? And so, because that's going to be where your shadow work is those areas, those ways in which your ego needs to be met, or an ego needs, I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm channeling, guys. That's going to be where you need to resolve, because where is that pain connected to? If you needed that attention and gratification from that stranger, that person that you wanted to just have a one-night stand with or something, then if you did that knowing the risk, why? If it was because you wanted somebody to find you attractive, well, if you know that you are attractive, then it doesn't matter if it's X, Y, or Z person, right? So that's where the work needs to be done, because he needs to understand that he does need to be in an emotionally reciprocal space. And in order to get there, what he needs to do is be honest with himself. But again, I think for the first step here is to evaluate aspects in your life of escapism. Are you playing video games for 6 hours straight as soon as you get home, or drinking to excess, or going out every night of the week because you don't want to sit home and think about this? You need to give yourself, just like the feminine, the time and space to actually start listening to yourself. The feminine is actually processing through these. She knows how to do that. The masculine doesn't know how to do that yet. The first step is to actually sit and listen to your inner truth. Just listen. You don't need to figure out how to fix it yet, but you need to start creating that self-awareness. That's the overall advice for the Divine Masculine, is self-awareness. Be aware and evaluate how and why you're keeping secrets, how and why you're lacking that ability for the emotional reciprocity. How are you being dishonest with yourself, and are you giving yourself that time and space to sit and process through that? Okay. So we've got that, but like I said, I do want to go into, I want to use Hannah's Oracle deck here. And I'll use one other as well. Okay, so let's do the Divine Feminine first. Guidance for the Divine Feminine. Intent. Home. want to pull one more for her. Ritual. Okay. And for the divine masculine, journey. Spirit of the land. Forgiving. Okay. Right. Let me pull these and then we'll finish up. Okay, one for the divine feminine. You create your own reality. What you want wants you to. And that's card number 1, which again in the last reading, the oracle card that came out for the masculine was number 1, and for the feminine it was number 10. And now it's come out number 1 for the feminine. Okay. And number 22. This is not your practice life. Decide. Okay. So for the feminine, intent. You know that with part of your healing process, a big part of it was evaluating why you do things, right? Why you react or respond in a certain way. I think it's going to be during this this walking away from this connection. Any interactions that you have, please be intentful and mindful. I know that this is a difficult period and a difficult time for you guys if you've just walked away from a connection. If you do have interactions, I just saw the King of Swords in my mind, and so what they're asking of you is that you stay dispassionate, right? If you're still angry and you respond to a message or something like that, pause and consider after you type that message in response, stop and look at it and ask yourself, is this the message that I want to send? And why? What do I hope to get out of this? What am I wanting to provoke a response because I'm still hurt, or I'm still angry, or I'm still upset? Because those are going to send you away from this energy, right? That sends you back into the loop, because you're just pushing and blocking and trying to mutually hurt the other person, right? So stay cautious of that. Again, there's a reinforcing with the Hermit there at home. And I got the message about create your space at home. That's the message, is to allow yourself, because like I said before, you want to have structural time or a space to allow yourself to do that healing work. And so it's asking you to create that space for yourself at home, as well as to incorporate ritual, right? I am Wiccan, and I definitely, when I went through my spiritual awakening, I connected heavily with a lot of ritual. And by ritual, it doesn't mean spells. It means actually sitting in time and meditation and prayer, where you take the time to ensure that you're being grateful, that you feel your journey, right? You go through those things. And I had received a download, several weeks ago about the importance of ritual. And it's because it connects and reminds us of our awakening and our connection to divine source. because and I had, even though I still definitely considered myself Wiccan, I still definitely considered myself spiritually awakened. For a long time, I hadn't spent any time in ritual. I mean, I was very immersed in the 3D. I was at my job. I was very busy. I was trying to manage, my little mini farm and everything else. And I was completely disconnected from ritual. And it was when I came back to it, I almost had to relearn, a lot of the energy work. And that is the importance of ritual, is regularly connecting yourself to that energetic work and connecting ourselves to the divine, right? I had become sort of a Christmas, Easter Wiccan, where I wasn't connecting to that. And when you do connect to it more regularly, it's easier to stay focused on your journey and continually ask yourself, what is this situation trying to teach me? Because I know that I was meant to encounter this situation. Okay. And then the last card, you create your own reality. What you wants you to. What do you want to experience? And I think that comes very much back to the self restricting the self-imposed beliefs, right? The restricting beliefs that the divine feminine has. And so it's asking you, where are you stopping yourself? And instead of thinking of what you can't do, think of what you can do, or what you want to do, or what you would do if you couldn't fail, right? That's going to be a big part of your path ahead, is going into that manifestation mode, but you've got to release yourself from those self-restricting beliefs in order to do that. For the divine masculine, forgiveness, spirit of the land, and journey. I think that the first person that the divine masculine needs to forgive is himself. I think this divine masculine really, really beats himself up. I mean, he knows his faults to some degree, right? And he feels like he's got a lot of them, and he knows he's got a long way to go, and he feels like he just keeps screwing up. That's what this divine masculine is feeling like, is he can't win for losing. And he sees himself as a failure. He sees himself as being so far away from where he wants to be. And he hates himself for it. Because he should have done better. And then that's what he tells himself. I should have done better. Spirit of Land, one of the oracle cards that came out for the divine masculine was about connecting with his ancestry. And I think that's again reinforced in this message. But I feel like this message also connects with about finding joy, finding simple joys, not escapism distractions. Because even without the alcohol, this masculine finds many ways to escape his thoughts and his feelings. And so it's asking you, what ways can you force yourself to connect with your mind and your energy? And as I was channeling that, I saw paddleboarding. I used to paddleboard and paddleboarded with my dogs and my goat even once. But I loved it, and especially going out with my dogs or my goat, because I felt very, very present. I was forced to feel present in that situation because I had one of my children with me, right? And my dog or my goat. And so So I didn't have any music on. I wasn't thinking about anything else except for being in that moment and paddling, right? So what kind of activities in your life can give you that time and space to ensure, because it's not pleasant, right? So put yourself in a pleasant environment and in such a way that works for you, so that you can actually take that time and space. So whether or not that's, taking like a 20-minute walk around the block every day, after you get home or after you eat dinner, or whatever it is, with no music, no phone, you just walk out and walk for 20 minutes. If you do that, even if you do it once a week, you do that every Saturday, when you don't have work, maybe you're too tired after work, whatever it is, but in some regular fashion, to give yourself the time and space to actually sit with your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, and actually work through these issues. That's what you need, is no distractions. And so find a way, whether that's nature or paddleboarding with your goat, or whatever the case may be, to do that, Divine Masculine, because that's important for you. Journey. And, I think this is a message actually for both the Divine Feminine and the Divine Masculine, is masculine, have an awareness that you are on your journey now, and this is what it feels like. It sucks. The Divine Feminine has been here, and I know you see her as being like this perfection, that she's mature and she's this and she's that and whatever, and she's not going to have anything for me. I'm a piece of garbage sitting over here with nothing going on, and I've got a bunch of secrets that I keep from her and everything else, right? The thing is that you don't know everything about Divine Feminine either. Part of her boundary process and learning is not oversharing. She used to overshare, right? But at this point, she understands that she doesn't have to expose herself and be overly vulnerable with people just to prove to themselves that they can be and that they're worthy of love, right? The Divine Feminine has been through it, and they have felt exactly the same way that you've felt. That's what this journey is about. So, in Divine Feminine, you also do need to be reminded that the way that you behaved at the beginning of your journey is very different than the way that you behave now. So you have done a lot of healing, and you have incorporated a lot of those habits and thoughts and feelings as being second nature to you at this point, right? This masculine is very far away from that. He is basically just starting his journey here. He's just starting his journey. So, the way that you can offer that support is, again, just to be working on that healing with yourself. I mean, essentially the guidance here is mirrored for both the twins. Create a space for yourself at home, a meditation space or whatever it might be. And it's telling the masculine that he needs to find an activity or a routine or a structure for himself to allow himself to be present and start creating the self-awareness to get to the point where he can begin the healing. Okay, this is not your practice life. Decide. What is your inner voice telling you about the dream in your heart? So the masculine has, so much is mirrored. Those self-limiting beliefs for the feminine, I mean, the masculine has that exact same. They're in different areas, but they both still have them to some degree. And so the guidance of 22 here, it's basically saying, do you want to heal or not? Because if you stay in this energy, you're not going to heal. And if you both don't heal, then there is no union. There's no chance. There's no ultimate reconciliation or partnership here. And so what do you want? And it's not a practice life. This is it. This is what you came here to do. And like it or not, because I get it. I don't love being on this journey either. But like it or not, this is what you chose for yourself. And you can't bypass it. If you sit, you can walk off this path. Because I've done that. You can walk off this path. But it sucks. You end up basically being spiritually awakened, but just stagnating in the 3D world. So, okay. That's your reading, guys. Thanks.